Now, most of you have heard of Waves plugins. They're one of the oldest plugin companies out there. They've been around for a while and they produce very cool plugins. So what I decided to do with this video is to share with you my top 5 Waves plugins. Hey, what's going on? Chris Lim here from Mixdown Online. Hope you're good, my friend. So now we're gonna jump right into it to talk about my 5 top Waves plugins. Now, there's more than 5 very cool plugins out of the Waves collection, but I'm just gonna share with you, what I consider being the top 5 Waves plugins. I'm gonna start with the first one, and they don't come in any particular order, but the first one is the Scheps Omni channel, which is an amazing channel strip. Now, this channel strip is quite different than any other channel strips. It's very flexible, and this is what's cool about this plugin. So let's check it out.
This one is very special. It's a full channel strip designed by Andrew Scheps. So you have like all his favorite processing within that one channel strip. So the channel strip itself is not trying to emulate one specific console. So it's kind of a blend of a bit of everything that Andrew likes to work with. So that's what's cool about this plugin, because it's focusing way more on its flexibility than an emulation per se. So if we look at what we have here, we have all the 5 modules, the pre, which is going to include saturation and a filter, and this thumb here, which is actually pretty cool. It's kind of a low frequency resonance bump, which is actually pretty nice. There's a gate also, 2 de-essers, which can be practical on a vocal, an EQ, a 4-band EQ, and a compressor. And we have also a limiter right here at the end. Now, the compressor, the cool thing about this compressor compared to another type of channel strip is you have access to 3 different types of compressors: the VCA compressor, a FET compressor, and also a Nopto compressor. So that makes this compressor module very flexible. You can move them around. Also, you can move all these modules around and change the processing order, which is nice. And if you click here, we have a more detailed GUI of each module, which also can be practical. All the modules can be worked in stereo, dual mono, or MS, which is mid-side processing, which is also very cool and practical. Now, on this track, I have the Omni, the Scheps Omni, on a group acoustic guitar channel. So I have 2 channels, 2 acoustic guitar channels, panned left and right, that are routed into this stereo group. And I'm using the compressor in dual mono. So this way the compressor detector will detect the signal from the left and the right side separately. All right, so let's have a quick listen to what we have on this acoustic guitar recording. If I bypass the Omni channel, okay, so what I have here for the pre section, I have some saturation, and I'm using the heavy one. Now, this is not like heavy saturation per se, but it's more acting like a clipper. And I kind of like it because, like for the acoustic guitar, it helps the acoustic guitar to stand out in the mix. And I kind of like what it does and the kind of character it adds to this acoustic guitar. I also have some high pass and low pass filter. And then I have an EQ, just light EQ, and a compressor, which again is in dual mono. And this one is set up to the opto compressor. It's not compressing a lot. I'm very careful when it comes to compressing acoustic guitars, but just enough to level things out. So let's listen to this in the context of the mix. Next, I have the Omni channel on the snare drum. Now, this snare drum is composed of the recorded signal and also some samples to tone shape the sound a bit. But the recorded snare is the sound that is more predominant in the full sound. So let's listen to it in solo and see what we have here. Okay, now I'm using several things. Again, in the pre-section, that saturation with the clipper works very, very well on the snare, even on the kick drum. There's a bit of high pass filtering, and there's the thumb here, which adds again some low frequency resonance. So let's just focus on this one and bypass the thumb to see how it sounds like. Actually, the 4 dB bump is actually pretty cool. I'm going to leave it this way for now. There's also a gate that sounds pretty good. A bit of an EQ also, and some compression. So if we listen to this in the context of the mix,
Now, the second plugin on the list is a brand new plugin from Waves that just came out a couple of weeks ago. And this one is the Waves Retrofy. It's a very nice plugin, pretty much unique. It has that very cool lo-fi, dirty sound that it produces. And you'll understand that even if it's a new plugin, this one made my top 5 list.
So what we have with Retrofy are 4 modules, which consist of device, space, noise, and mechanics. At the bottom, we have the master section, where we have an input and output level, a high pass, low pass filter, and we have mono, which is going to narrow the stereo image. Now, there's a lot of parameters here. I'm going to try to be quick and just to give you the main idea of what we're getting with Retrofy. What we get to start with is the device module, which is going to give you different tones per decade, which is quite nice. So we have like an 80s tone, 70s, 60s, 50s, which is quite nice. And per decade, we also have different impulse responses, which will give you different tones. And this knob is called device. Very interesting. We can also adjust the general tone with this knob. And we have the squash knob here, which is going to compress the signal or expand the signal. The ringer knob here will create a digital clipping distortion. And we have the mix knob, which is going to just blend the dry signal with the processed signal. So let's have a listen to the drum loop we're going to work with. I'm going to bring the mix to 100%. Okay, now I'm going to bring down the mix knob because the plugin is inserted straight on the drum loops channel. And my goal by using this plugin is always to get the perfect blend between the processed and the dry signal. Okay, next we have space. Space on its own is basically the lo-fi space plugin that I reviewed a few weeks back, again by Waves. So this one is included within Retrofy, but you can also have it on its own plugin, which is very nice also. So if you want to check this video, I'm going to leave the link on top. Check it out because I just go way more in depth than what I'm going to be doing in this video. Okay, so on space we have the echo side and the reverb side. Both of those effects are going to give you that lo-fi, dirty sound and tone. The echo can be timed to the host, which is the tempo of your project, or you can add the milliseconds value or the BPM value manually. Then we have the level of the echo and the level of the reverb. So this way you can balance the echo with the reverb level. The reverb will have a spring and a plate reverb, and the echo will have a mono echo or a ping pong echo. We have the feedback of the echo and again the mix knob to balance the dry signal with the processed signal. So let's have a listen. The next module is called noise, and this one is self-explanatory. It's going to add some noise to the signal. Now, you can set that up to pre or post space, meaning that you can add noise on the signal coming out of the device before it hits space or after it comes out of the space module. So pre or post, which is pretty nice. And on top, we have access to different types of noises. There's a bunch to choose from. I'm going to leave this one to cassette 3. Now, there's two ways you can work with noise. You can work in gate mode or duck mode. Gate mode is basically going to add noise on the signal itself, and when there's no signal, there's no noise. So there's the threshold level that you can adjust. Duck is going to give you the opposite. It's going to add noise all over the place, but when there's some signal coming in, the noise is going to be ducked down. So let's have a quick listen to what we have with noise on this drum groove. That's pretty cool. Adds a bit of rhythmic. Very nice. Next, we have mechanics. Basically, mechanics will give you control over the mechanical artifacts found on analog units like a cassette tape or the type of problems found on a vinyl recording. Now, let's listen to a before and after with the drum groove that we have. Now that adds a lot of character, and I just love the tone that comes out of the plugin on this drum groove, especially when the piano comes in and the synth. It adds just a very nice tone to the whole package. I'm just going to add retrofy to another sound that I have here, which is this one right here. So this is basically what you get with Retrofy. There's way more you can do with this plugin, and there's also a bunch of presets you can base yourself on, which are quite interesting. So check it out, Retrofy.
Now the next one has been around for a while, and this one is the MV2, which is a very cool compressor plugin.
Now if we look at MV2, we have a minimum set of parameters, and this is what's cool about this plugin, very simple to use. So there's the output level, the high level compression level, which is basically the threshold that you bring up and down. So this is how it's going to work with compression. You bring down the threshold level, and everything above the threshold point is going to be turned down. We don't have access to the ratio, the attack and release, the knee. Everything is done under the hood in an automatic way. So it's a program-dependent type of compressor, and everything is done under the hood. I'm not sure what's happening there and the way they do it, but it does sound pretty smooth, and I kind of like it. The low level is low-level compression or upward compression, and this is going to do the complete opposite of the compressor. It's going to bring up everything that is below the threshold point. So everything below the threshold point is going to be turned up. So very cool if you're dealing with a dynamic type of recording. This will reduce the dynamic range without over compressing the signal, which is not a bad thing.
Médoc mental, ma tête à mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ. Mes doigts et mental et ma tête à mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ.
Okay, let's listen to it again without MV2.
Mes docs mental, ma tête à mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à la case départ. Mes docs et mental et ma tête à mal, ça tourne, tourne, tourne encore. Mes fautes m'accablent, la fête se fait la malle, ça tourne, retourne à...
Very cool. So you can actually hear the difference. You can hear that the dynamics, like the low-level information of that track, is actually brought up pretty easily without sounding like overcompressed, which is quite nice. Let's try it out on a guitar solo, because I also have it on this solo right here. So let's listen to it without MV2. Let's activate MV2. That's pretty cool. So if you focus only on that part right here, the end part of that line, let's focus on that without MV2. So that part is getting lost, you know, so I'm going to activate MV2 and that low-level information is going to be brought up just a bit. Pretty cool. So this is what MV2 does, low-level compression and regular compression, all in one plugin. Very practical, works well on vocals, bass, guitars, pianos also. A very good way to control the dynamics of a track without overcompressing the signal. So check it out.
The next one is a classic from Waves. It has been used by several mixing engineers. This one is perfect if you want to beef up your tracks, and this one is called the R-Bass.
So if we look at R-Bass, again, we have a plugin with the minimum sets of parameters, and everything is done under the hood. Now, R-Bass is going to add low-frequency harmonics to your signal. And what we have as far as the parameters goes, we have the intensity level, the frequency, and also the output level to play with. Again, there's not a lot of parameters to work with, and I'm not even sure how that works under the hood, but it does the job very well, and that's why I've been using this plugin for years. I mainly use it on bass, synth bass, even some snare, like just if you want to fat up a snare sound, that is also a good option. On the kick drum, of course, sometimes even on the drum bus. So, you know, it's a very useful plugin to work with. Let's check it out on a drum bus, or just like that drum recording that I have here. Now, this one is very special because those drums were recorded with only one microphone. So I only have one track for these drums, and the end result sounded pretty good, actually. It was surprising. But what is missing, though, is a bit more of a very nice low end on the kick especially. So I'm going to use R-Bass to fix that up and just add a bit more fatness to the drum sound. So I'm going to solo the drums. Let's listen to it without R-Bass. I'm going to add R-Bass. At this time around, I'm going to put the frequency to 60. Nice. everything is affected, because that plugin is on the full drum recording. So you can hear the effect of our bass affecting the snare sound and especially the kick sound. So let's check. I think I have like a drum fill with toms here. Okay, let's bypass our bass on this one. That sounds pretty cool. The toms actually sound very nice. So let's listen to everything with our bass in the context of the mix.
Now for the last plugin on the list, this one is quite different. Now, if you're someone who mixes on headphones or you travel a lot and that in some situation you don't have access to good sets of studio monitors in a very nice room, this one is going to be useful. It's called the CLA-NX, and that will emulate a room. So you can mix with your headphones and just feel like you're in an actual room, an actual studio. And this one is going to give you the impression you're in CLA's, Chris Lord Alge's studio mixing your music, which is quite cool. So again, this is a very good plugin if you're mixing on headphones. On my side, I do love to mix on headphones, so I'm going to use this type of plugin maybe 50% of the time when I mix on headphones, just to get into this like a different room than what I'm used to in my own studio. And it's quite interesting. I kind of like the way this plugin is designed and sound like. So let's jump in CUBASE and have a look.
So this is the CLA-NX plugin. When we listen to music on studio monitors, now we have the natural bleed that we deal with, meaning that if you listen to a sound that comes out of the left speaker, you're still going to hear it on the right ear, because of the natural bleed. It's not going to sound the same as on the left ear, but you're still going to hear some bleed, so that is normal. That's the natural thing when you listen to your studio monitors in a studio environment. And that is not what we get when listening on headphones, because everything is separated. So you're not going to be hearing what's coming out of the left side on your right ear, okay, and vice versa. So what this plugin does, it's going to bring you into a studio space and you will get that natural bleed back, which is quite nice. So let's have a listen. And for this to work, you're going to have to listen on a good pair of headphones, or else it's not going to make any sense, especially if you're watching this video through a phone or straight from your computer speakers. Okay, so make sure you're using headphones. So this is how it sounds like without the CLA-NX. Now, very important when you're doing a comparison on how this plugin sounds like, I do not suggest on going straight and bypass while the music is playing. This is going to mess up your perspective, okay? So make sure you take a break like we're doing right now before activating the plugin. And also something that you can do is to take the time to listen to some reference tracks that you know pretty well using this plugin, but avoid bypassing the plugin when listening to music. Make sure you take breaks in between. So now if we look at the parameters, we have right here on the left side, we have studio monitors, and this comes from the CLA Studio. So we have the NS10s plus a sub, which is the one selected right now. We have the mains, and we also have a boombox, which is quite nice. There's the Rotate Studio, where you'll be able to rotate within the studio, and that is going to change the sound like it would if you were in the studio and you were turning around. So you have the same effect. And you can also activate the head tracking with a webcam, and that will actually do this automatically by following your head. The webcam works okay, but for an optimal result, you can actually purchase separately the head tracking device that Waves sells. Now, on my side, to be honest with you, it's not something that attracts me a lot, so I don't use it. But this is what it does. So we'll have a quick listen anyways to give you an idea. We also have the level of the ambience and also the headphone EQ. So if you're using one of the models listed, that will give you a specific EQ according to these models. If not, you just keep that to none like I'm doing, because, you know, my headphones, the headphones I'm working with right now, are not listed. So this is how the CLA-NX sounds like when using headphones. Something important is where you insert this plugin. Now, if you're using CUBASE Pro, I'm going to suggest you to work with the control room, and this is where I have access to a bunch of inserts, and this is where I'm going to insert the CLA-NX plugin within the insert section of the control room. So this way, when I bounce my mix, everything, all the plugins inserted on the control room will not affect the sound of my bounce. Okay, so this is where I'm going to put this plugin. If you don't have the pro version of CUBASE, or you're working with another DAW, you can just add this plugin straight on your master output channel. Okay, the only thing though is when you're ready to bounce, don't forget to bypass the plugin, or else you're going to end up with that effect on your master, and this is not something you want to do. So just pay attention to this detail.
All right, my friends, so now it's your turn. If you work with Waves plugins, I would love to know what are your favorite Waves plugins, the one you love to work with the most. List everything down below. And also, if you want to know more about Waves and their plugins and the plugins we talked about today, I'm going to leave the links down below. Now, this is not a sponsored video, but if you use the links below, you are going to help the channel and support the channel, since they are affiliate links. So if you have any questions or comments, you can leave everything down below, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Until next time, take care and see you.